Hello, everyone. I'm Janet Salmons, Research Community Manager for Sage Method Space, and I'm delighted to be joined today by these scholars who are working together through this Fulbright opportunity. You may recognize Trena Paulus, our Sage author. She and I have worked together on a number of things, and you've seen posts from her before. And so why don't you just take a moment and if both of you would introduce yourselves.
Sure. Thanks for having us. I'm a professor at East Tennessee State University in the Department of Sociology and Anthropology. And I'm fortunate to be here this year with my faculty mentor, Joanna Pawelczyk. And do you want to introduce yourself, Joanna?
Yes. Hello, everyone. And thanks, Janet, so much for organizing this. I'm very grateful for being referred to as Fulbright mentor in this conversation today, because Fulbright is very close to me. But on a general basis, I'm a dean of the Faculty of English, and in fact, this year I have a great privilege to work and host Trena as a distinguished Fulbright scholar.
So before we get started, if you are new to Method Space, this is a blog community sponsored by Sage Publishing, and we are interested in everything to do with designing, conducting, analyzing research, writing about it, sharing results in all different kinds of ways. And you can see at the heart of this diagram, we have teaching and learning, because we think whether you are a brand new scholar or an experienced scholar, we all have something to learn. And that's why I love having this opportunity for this kind of conversation. So I can learn about what's going on in the world and how research is being done. So why don't you just begin and let me know when you would like me to share slides.
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to, point out that, we're here kind of with the support of the Fulbright Commission, which is a United States State Department program, but also through Fulbright Poland. And Joanna actually has also done a Fulbright in the United States, so I can have her speak to that. So we're at Adam Mickiewicz University in Poznań, Poland, which is in the western part of Poland, about 3 hours from Berlin, and hosted by the Faculty of English, as we mentioned. And then, of course, I wanted to thank my university, East Tennessee State University, for allowing me a semester of leave to be here. But I thought it would be good if you also talked about the Fulbright that you did, because it is a cross-cultural exchange.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in fact, as I said, I'm very privileged to have Fulbright experience, and it's sort of both ways, because now I'm sort of mentoring Trena, which is kind of funny. But at the same time, I was, I'm still a Fulbrighter, because once you do Fulbright, you're always a Fulbrighter. So my Fulbright was actually in the academic year 2018-2019. I was affiliated with the University of Maryland College Park, and more specifically with the Center for Research on Military Organization, because my project was on women in the U.S. military. So that's a whole another story. Okay. So I had really great. I had great privilege to, and I have a great privilege to be a part of the Fulbright family. And of course, what is really important, and I think it's important for the commission, for the Fulbright Commission in general, is that your sort of Fulbright involvement does not really end with the end of your scholarship, right? So we do want to continue our work, in different directions, of course, research-wise, but also when it comes to community engagement. It is really, really important. So this is what we're trying to do. And also at the Faculty of English at Adam Mickiewicz University, Fulbright program, as I said, is very dear to us. We've been collaborating with the Fulbright Commission for a number of years, but since 2019, we've been hosting now U.S. scholars in the most prestigious award, which is Distinguished Now Scholar. It used to be Chair in Humanities and Social Sciences. So we're really getting absolutely wonderful colleagues who come here and mentor us, share their expertise with us. And when I say us, it's always faculty and students. So we're very grateful to have Trena this year. Although I was just saying before we join you, Janet, that her Fulbright is almost over.
Yeah, it's a very, very
yeah, it's difficult to think about it, but like I said, our relationship will continue.
Yes.
And it's so important.
Well, I think it fits very well, and I'm glad we're having this conversation for methods-based readers, because I think this is, in our informal way, the kind of impetus behind methods-based is to create a cross-cultural exchange across researchers and people who are interested in research, people who are teaching research, and people who are aspiring to become researchers, to have this chance to learn from one another. That's and to share ideas. And whenever I'm a part of these conversations through our webinars and events like this, I feel like, well, this is the kind of world I want to be a part of. So I really celebrate that kind of opportunity. So I had a couple of questions for you when we were preparing for this, because I was hoping that we could talk a little bit about the Fulbright collaboration, the process. So if someone is viewing this who is interested in either applying as a scholar or perhaps hosting Fulbright in their institutions, they would have some sense of what that experience was like. And then to talk a little bit more about what the research interests are and the efforts, et cetera, through your department there in your institution. So I'll just let you take it away.
Yeah, so I can start by just sharing a few things. So, one of the most important ways of getting, I feel like getting a Fulbright Scholar Award is to really have a relationship with an institution in another country that supports the Fulbright program. And so we just serendipitously happened to meet as part of a webinar series that the university hosted last year on challenges and innovations in qualitative research methodology. And I was invited to talk about, I think, data analysis software, maybe?
Yes.
And it was just a really great coincidence that I had just been looking at Fulbright Scholar positions, because only certain universities across the 160 countries that Fulbright has a presence in actually has openings. And I recognized the name of the university. And so I gave the webinar, met Joanna, met Agnieszka, met some of the other faculty. And I just said, hey, I noticed that you're actually hosting a Fulbright Scholar. Is that something that my skill set would be useful for you? So we had a great Zoom conversation, and they agreed to write me a letter of support. And that's really important in my mind to getting a Fulbright position, is having somebody to write a letter of support, having it be a good fit for the university. And you also have to apply almost 2 years, or be ready to start putting your materials together a couple of years in advance. Is that similar to your process?
That's interesting, because and that really, I think I love the sort of diversity that will really come out in a moment from the conversation when it comes to selecting institutions and actually being accepted by them. Because in fact, Trena, my story is a little bit different.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, my Fulbright project was on women in the U.S. military. So, kind of even a cursory look at the title suggests that it's, it's kind of sociologically driven, right? I'm a linguist, by the way. I'm a sociolinguist and discourse analyst. But I really wanted to have an access to sort of military data, right? So, I wanted to do, my ideal would be to do some ethnographic work. So I started with some ideas about conducting ethnographic interview. Then I had to kind of scale it down because I know that's not going to happen. So I went for interviews. But of course, I was looking for the institution that had a U.S. institution that had some close relationship with the U.S. military, right? Thinking of data access. And so, I was actually contacting colleagues that I didn't know personally. I knew one of them from research, from publications, but I never heard from her. But I heard from my wonderful host from University of Maryland College Park, a sociologist, Professor Meredith Kleekamp, who kindly accepted me and gave me a chance. And, we connected. I talk about my project, and she was so much helpful, right? And I so much appreciate because whatever I was able to do in the US on my Fulbright, in terms of data collection, and then, you know, the conversations we had was really thanks to her. So it's very different, right?
It is because, and that actually highlights that there are different types of Fulbrights. Mine is a teaching Fulbright, and Joanna's was a research Fulbright, or you can do a combination. And so that also leads to kind of the different ways that people get a position.
But in fact, as dean of the faculty, I get you know, emails from time to time from US scholars asking me about, you know, would it be possible to do Fulbright at, you know, at the Faculty of English. And so there are different ways, good, right? That there's some kind of variation in it, and I don't know, I love. I mean, of course, because it's my own story, but the fact that I was given a chance, it's wonderful.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I was also given a chance.
So tell us a little bit more about what you've been doing since you've been present there. And what the response you've had, you know, from the students since your Fulbright is around teaching.
Yeah, so I've been, I came here at the end of January, and their semester starts at the beginning of March. So Fulbright gives us about a month, 6 weeks to kind of get settled in. And yes, there's my office building, our building, where the whole Faculty of English is. That's when I first got here, and it was very cold and snowy, and it stayed that way for a while. I had a lovely office space set up for me. And so I've been teaching a master's level course on social media analysis. And then I've been doing weekly professional development workshops with the faculty on how to use ATLAS.ti software, which has been really great. So 2 days a week, you know, I just come and, you know, we basically teach, you know, for the semester. So today was actually my last class with the master students. We wrapped up the faculty professional development workshops a week or two ago, because as the end of the semester gets crazy, you know, they don't have as much time. And they also gave 3 invited talks, I believe 3 invited talks since I've been here, a distinguished professor lecture, the inaugural lecture for the technology and medical communication discussion group. And then I was part of the young linguists meeting in Poznań conference. So, and then there's been, you know, also just individual meetings with faculty who find out that I'm here and want to talk about qualitative research or ATLAS.ti or other topics. So professionally, I think that's been the bulk of what I've been doing here, kind of a wide variety of things. Did I forget anything?
No. I just want to kind of follow up on it. And I think that I mean, we can already imagine that from what Trena said, that she has done tremendous amount of work. And when I saw her report, and I immediately emailed her and said, this is amazing. I mean, this is just so much, right? That you were able to do within the period of 5 months, right?
Yeah, 5 months.
5 months. But this is really the idea of this particular Fulbright Award, that is distinguished chair, because basically it's 30 hours of teaching. So you're teaching one course, but the rest is engagement, right? With faculty and students. And of course we were, I mean, I feel grateful and really honored that Trena kindly, as I said, agreed to participate in so many events, because we really wanted to sort of take advantage of her. Here. Also because her expertise is, among others, is ATLAS.ti, so the software we can use for using for analyzing data qualitatively. And this is what we've been somehow lacking here when it comes to our skills. Well, I guess we'll still talk about the projects, right? That our colleagues were able to carry out and present and talk about them using ATLAS.ti and also using Trena's guidance during the process. So
yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
It's interesting. I'm looking at the snow now.
I know, it seems like a long time ago. Summer is finally here. It takes a little bit longer.
It's taken longer here too this year. So tell us a little bit about some of the projects the students have been working on or proposing while you're there.
Yeah, so with the master's students, and there might be a slide there with this slide. Well, so this one is actually a picture of all the visitors that I've had since I've been here. So
Okay.
Jessica Lester. So that was another part of it, is hosting and bringing in visitors. So Jessica Lester actually came from Indiana University and gave a distinguished professor lecture, which was wonderful. The other picture on the top is my colleague Nancy Lee from Spain, who actually runs an English language school and was really interested in seeing the facilities of how they do English language teaching here. And then the bottom picture is my husband, who's the dean of the library at ETSU. And so he got to come to visit a couple of times as well, and was, eager to kind of learn more about the university as well. So it's been very great hosts, and really fun to share about Poland and share about the university while I've been here. Yeah.
Right. And I think, as you mentioned, I mean, this is a part of a value of the Fulbright to really extend the collaboration, bring in others, into the conversation as well.
Yes, absolutely. And I know Jessica especially is interested in doing a Fulbright soon as well. So it was great to be able for her to kind of see on the ground what it looks like.
Okay. So tell us about.
Yeah, and so the other thing that I was really grateful for, so and this is actually important to this conversation, because I'm one of the few scholars here in Poland who, and there's probably 50 Fulbrighters here right now, between the English teaching associates who teach English right out of college at university level. Then you've got the young scholar, the dissertation scholars, the early career scholars, and then I'm like the mid-career scholar. They all have ties to Poland culturally. So a lot of them come here having been to Poland. They know the Polish language. They're familiar with Poland in ways that I actually am not. I had never been here before. I didn't have a deep body of knowledge about Poland. And so the university was actually gracious enough to sponsor me taking Polish classes. So I've been taking Polish classes 2 nights a week. I am by far, probably by 2 decades older than any of the other students in the class. This is my professor, Bernadetta. She's wonderful. And it's a very introductory Polish class, because part of the mission of Fulbright is a cultural exchange. And someplace like Poland, I feel like I wouldn't really fully be able to understand my experience here without at least being able to do the basic sort of social interactions. So I just wanted to really point out that that was important for my experience, to try to be involved beyond just work, but to try to learn the language, meet people in the community, and be involved in the community as well. So, and I don't know how many other Fulbrighters take Polish lessons, but maybe most of them come knowing Polish.
Yeah, but you stayed till the end.
I did. I've stayed till the end. Tonight's my last Polish class. And so this is just a picture of all the Fulbrighters or the mid-year orientation, which we had up in Gdańsk, which is in the northern part of the country. It used to be Danzig, when this part of Poland was actually part of Germany. There's been a lot of geographical shifting over time. And we do have, another thing they encourage us to do, or what we want to do, is really support each other's projects. So in the upper left is a picture of Lydia, who's an artist who actually sponsored an art exhibition by young Ukrainian artists who are here since the war began. And it was a really amazing exhibit. So a lot of us came, and we try to gather from time to time. In the major cities in Poland, there are usually a few of us Fulbrighters around. We don't see each other a lot because, we're all busy working and developing connections in the community. But it isn't like you're the only American, in the country. There's usually a pretty strong support group of people who help each other out. And so now here we go. Here is the picture of the students in my social media analysis class. And what we did, interestingly, was worked through the framework from the book that Alyssa Wise and I put out a few years ago, just kind of scaffolding students in research design around social media data. And what they decided that they were interested in looking at were the conversations taking place around the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once, and the fact that it won so many Academy Awards, and that it ended up being sort of a controversial movie. So they were really interested in digging into that. So we looked across different types of social media data, used ATLAS.ti to pull in some of that, those posts. And we just today had our last class where we were working in a Google Doc to kind of map the themes that we found with those online conversations with some of the other literature, which, believe it or not, there are 2 master's theses that have already been published on this movie that just came out last year. It really was. So we're kind of comparing that. So it's been nice to work with students, and they're all in the faculty. They're all in the Faculty of English. They have different emphasis areas, and so this was just kind of a special topics option for them to take. But it was nice to just help them walk through the social science research process with social media data, since they're all working on a thesis as well.
Mm-hmm. And in this time when there's so much upheaval in social media, that must add a little twist to it as well.
Yes, for sure. I mean, since I've been here, Twitter has just kind of turned into a completely separate, different beast than it was before I got here. So yeah, we actually ended up, I think, not even looking at Twitter. We looked at Reddit and TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, I think, mostly as sources of data, because Twitter was kind of just all over the place. So yeah, definitely, it's definitely a moving target these days. And this is a picture of some of the faculty. Almost all of them were there that day for the ATLAS.ti workshops. And so I tried to really show how Atlas could be used as the hub for kind of this whole digital workflow, for everything from reviewing the literature to collecting data to analyzing data to doing some of the advanced computations with the findings. So yeah, so how did it go from your perspective?
No, it's been amazing. And again, I thank you so much again, Trena, for it, because it was sort of an extra, let's say, thing that Trena really took on, because officially she was obliged to teach 1 course only, but again, she kindly agreed to fill us in a little bit on using ATLAS.ti, and also kind of share my ideas about what ATLAS.ti can do.
Yeah.
And we actually talked about it, how very often in the papers you would have authors just saying that for the data analysis, right? For the qualitative data analysis, they use ATLAS.ti full stop and nothing else, right? So I sort of came to the course thinking that I'm going to have this magic software, right? It's going to do all the coding and categorizing for me. You know, all my hard work is going to be over. But it's I mean, it's an amazing software, and just so many affordances and things. It's, you know, it's how it is able to support us is really amazing. So you can also look at the picture, and you know, and a lot of faculty members decided to take this course, from PhD students to mid-career colleagues to senior colleagues, and you know, also I can see a student who is planning on applying for PhD studies. So it's been great, and I know that as I already said, many of them already presented the work that they did with you during conference presentation. So I have not done my study yet using ATLAS.ti, but I've also become more aware to, you know, how we can use ATLAS.ti, and I'm now really paying attention now when I can read in the paper that somebody used ATLAS.ti.
Right.
Okay, and what follows, right?
Right. How did you use it exactly?
Oh,
yeah. So this was something I was invited to be a part of, which was pretty cool. So they have a working group here that's really looking at medical communication, and they asked me to do the inaugural lecture reporting. And so I just talked about one of the studies I had been doing at ETSU about communication in healthcare settings, which was really fun to be able to share those findings, which is to help healthcare providers know how to assess for suicide and what language really works for doing that. Because that's a very difficult topic for students, new doctors, new nurses, to be able to do that. And as part of that experience, I got to go to the simulation lab that the medical school affiliated with AMU? So this university also has a medical school, which is in a different building in a different, just up the street.
it's a separate school.
It is a separate school. Okay, separate school. We went there to look at their simulation lab, and actually they do simulations really similar as we do at ETSU. So that was a really nice cross-cultural experience to see how they do training. And they have an English language medical school here. So we got to sit in on some of the simulations that were going on in English. They have a Polish and an English component. So that was another great project that I was able to be a part of since I've been here too. Wow, that was way back in March. So yeah. Do you want to talk about the series, Distinguished
Right.
Professor
So
Lecture
this is a series we we established here at the Faculty of English a while ago. So we're hosting distinguished professors and who again kindly share their expertise and their ongoing work with us. And we invited Trena also to give such a lecture within the series. So you can see our logo in Polish. WA stands for the Faculty of English. And then also Trena's lecture, the title of it on creating reflexive digital research workflows. So that's another item on her long list of accomplishments.
Yeah, that was an honor. And that's where Jessica Lester from Indiana University came to give one of those talks the month before. And that was on discourse analysis.
Was right, Rika. So this is the preventionist, right?
Yeah.
Conversation analysis. So
he also does work in medical settings. Yeah, applied conversation analysis. Yeah, that was great.
So you can also see how through Fulbrighters, we're really expanding, our kind of research context, right? I mean, it was such an honor to have Professor Lester with us. Again, we got to know her from the
webinar series
on challenges and importance of qualitative methodology. So it's been great.
And how many years have you all been sponsoring the conference?
Right. So Young Linguist Meeting in Poznań is an interdisciplinary international conference for junior scholars. So mostly students, PhD students, and early career researchers. We're saying up to 5 years after completing PhD.
Yeah, yes.
So it's been now its 8th edition.
Okay.
Right. So we held it at the end of May, and we always offer some mentoring sessions and practical workshops for our students, and it's really, really great. So if you ever decide if you're looking for a place to share your work as a young scholar, please, as a young linguist, please think of Poznań in our Young Linguist Meeting. And it's another edition is coming up in 2 years' time, because it's a 2-year. The conference takes place every 2 years. So again, we got Trena involved.
I was lucky to be here this year when you were having it. And this is a picture of me mentoring a graduate student from Romania who is here. So they partner us up with or ask us if we're willing to mentor some of the young scholars. So that was a wonderful chance. And I actually had the honor of giving the opening keynote for that conference as well. And my master's is actually in applied linguistics, and it's been a while since I've worked specifically in that area. And so one of the serendipitous elements of me coming here is that I have that background in linguistics. I've been doing work in medical communication, and I have the qualitative research. So it was this interesting wow, I happen to have 3 very different things going on, which is exactly what the faculty are working on here. So that's kind of why it was a really good fit for us.
Right. So maybe for those who are watching and thinking about, well, how might I apply for a Fulbright, to look at, like you say, kind of the layers of your experience, that, there may be things you've worked on in the past that would tie in. So that's a good point.
Absolutely. And then recently, I was invited to observe the meeting of the Faculty Advisory Board, which is an interesting activity they do here, which we don't necessarily do as much in the States, although the parallel I saw was when you have an accreditation visit in your unit. But the role is a little bit different because it's totally optional, right?
And it's, I would say, because when you said accreditation, I was kind of
it's not that. That's what I was sort of equipped, but it was not.
No, but it's very relaxed, and actually, so Faculty Advisory Board with the acronym FAB. It comprises 4 professors from different parts of the world. So there is Professor Christine Mallinson from University of Maryland, Baltimore. There is Professor Chantal Zabi from one of the universities in Paris. There is Professor Srikan Sarangi, who was basically affiliated with many institutions in the world. And there is also Professor Nikki, and now I forgot his last name, but Nikki will forgive me. So we meet every year to discuss issues related to our teaching, our research, and also management. And we have these professors on the board because they not only have excellent research record, but also they have a lot of experience in managing universities, and also they have various functions. Professor Nikki Ried from Vienna University. Okay, now I completed my thought. So yeah, so we, and of course, so we meet and usually during 2 days to discuss issues related to these areas. So we also invited Trena to join us on the second day, and you can see one of the university's palaces outside of Poznań. So
one of their palaces.
Yes, so we went there for discussion and also for a great walk. And so one of the conclusions I can say of the meeting was that basically all institutions share the same problems, right? So we were really able to relate.
Yes.
But it was so great to talk through our challenges, and then also Trena could contribute with her perspectives and her experience and expertise. So
yeah, it was great. Again, another cross-cultural, cross-institutional learning opportunities. That, yes, we all face very similar challenges these days.
Right, but there, not that many venues where we have a chance to really, be candid about them and think it through.
Yeah.
So.
I think I like, Janet, when you said candid, because it was, that's the key word, that we could really, open up.
Yes.
Right. So to build relationships that are trusting enough that you can deal with the real problems without fear. So.
Yeah, so I wanted to share 3 examples of research studies that people have been working on here that I thought were really interesting, and kind of shows sort of where people are in their thinking about qualitative methods and in conjunction with software. So Susanna and her advisor she actually presented this work at the Young Linguists meeting in Poznań that we were just talking about. She is already a PhD student, or she's going to apply for the PhD program. And she sat in on the ATLAS.ti workshops this semester. She was doing an analysis of Reddit conversations about what happens when kind of controversial political figures got COVID back, so this is data from a couple of years ago. And she was looking at the humor that was going on in these forums and using a functionalist discourse analysis approach. What she actually did was use the new AI coding feature of ATLAS.ti to see if it would help her categorize the kinds of humor that were taking place. And it was the first time that I had seen anybody use that feature. So I was really impressed that she used it. One of the limitations, and this is true with software, is that with Polish language, it's not as effective yet, because, something we have to consider is that so much of this technology is normed on English. And so as soon as you move into other languages, you kind of run up against some challenges. So that was interesting to hear her experience and see what she was able to do, the challenges that she had. And so this was, she was kind of presenting some of the initial results, but she really liked using the software. I think she even used the web version as well of the software. And yeah, so and me, of course, being interested in social media data anyway, was really excited to see somebody using Reddit data and then seeing what they could do in the software. So that was one fun study that I wanted to highlight. And then Mikołaj Buczak, his dissertation is looking at the teaching and learning of Dutch, which was really interesting. He's doing a multi-case study. He already had he's collecting a wide variety of data across several cities in Poland, looking at intercultural competence. And he was super excited because he was at exactly the point where he needed ATLAS.ti. So he sat in on the first few workshops, went and finished his dissertation, came back for the last couple, and he's like, I'm done, I can come back now. And he really, he really enjoyed, for him, I mean, it was really kind of me seeing how access to the software really makes a huge difference. And I've, for a long time, been encouraging the software companies to make their software more accessible because it's still really expensive for a lot of people. And then some of them will have free trial versions, but I was able to bring a site license with me for the time that I've been here. So for these 5 months, anybody really who wanted to use it could play around with it. And so that was great just to see the joy of, okay, this is exactly what I need right now. He was able to put his data in there, do some cool analysis, and then kind of move on to being able to defend and move forward. So it was fun to see him working on that. And then Professors Alexandra and Anna actually went to the UK this semester to present their findings. They had started working in the web version of ATLAS.ti before I got here because I think one of them had a license. And so they were looking at how pre-service teachers, teachers who are learning how to be teachers, their emotional responses as they went through their teacher training programs, how they were feeling about becoming teachers. So they had written reflections. And they had a bunch of them, and they were looking at sort of the beginning of the program and the end of the program. And they were working mostly in the web version. And then when they had access to the desktop version, they were an interesting example of collaborating on analysis using software and how they moved from the web version to the desktop version and back again. And they got pretty advanced in their coding. So I was helping them merge codes and figure out how to ask questions about the coding before and after the students, the students went through their program so they could kind of look at change. And they really went and ran with it and did some really cool visual illustrations of their findings and presented that already. And I think are continuing their analysis now to finish that up. So that's just kind of 3 examples of some of the methodological challenges. You know, how do we collaborate? How do we work with social media data? How do we get access to the software that we need? That I've been able to kind of learn from their experiences and kind of see how I could help and how we can put structures in place so they've got that kind of support moving forward. And these are the same challenges we have back home too. It's not just because I'm here, it's just I've had the chance to kind of focus on it as well.
Right. Well, thank you for sharing those examples and your experience and kind of how your presence there has opened up these opportunities to look at some new skills and manage, from management down to teaching. So is there anything else that you would like to add?
So if I may, Janet, I would say that whoever is thinking of applying for a Fulbright scholarship, please do so. It is truly, truly a transformational experience. I mean, this is what the Fulbright Commission says in its materials, and I've never understood it. But now, having the Fulbright experience myself, I can tell you that it's transformational, both in terms of it changes who you are, it makes you stronger, but also in terms of your identity as a researcher, right? And it's been really fantastic. It's been really this very important time for me in my life, and I guess that whoever's going to be asked about the Fulbright experience will definitely tell you more or less the same. So please think and don't hesitate. I actually managed to. I had to apply twice, so I I failed the first time. But I reapplied and I was successful, and so I'm very grateful for the opportunity, and I hope that Fulbright program will continue.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely transformative, and I think the mission is something like advancing knowledge, promoting cross-cultural learning, and changing lives. And it's just like my Peace Corps experience was, is that I think my life was changed more than I've changed other people's lives, but it's, somewhat reciprocal, but it really is an amazing program. Very stupendous amounts of support really for scholars. on both sides, something we just don't see as much anymore. You know, there used to be more programs. It's really outstanding. And yeah, I also encourage anybody who's interested in applying to look into it. There's great resources on the website. And of course, I'm sure we would be happy to answer any questions as well. So I'm really grateful that we had the chance to talk about this.
Well, thank you very much.